Well, hello everyone to the last panel or second to last panel of the day. My name is Morgan Smith-Williams. I am the supervisor of global strategies and campaigns for the McDonald's Corporation, and also the chief creative officer of 1580 River Creative. And welcome to Network to Net Worth. I am so excited to be able to bring two phenomenal panelists to you guys today. Want to call a couple of housekeeping rules. One of the things that we are going to do this panel is we will pull out audience questions. So if you want to look to the right and post some things in the chat, we'll be sure to try to answer as many as we can at the end. But to get started, let me introduce both of our panelists. I have Callie Reynolds and Cassandra Charles. Callie Reynolds is from the Oracle Corporation. Cassandra Charles is from Essence. And so I will actually let them introduce themselves, starting with Callie, and a little bit about themselves. And one of the things that we're going to do as an icebreaker is I'm asking each of the panelists to tell you guys at home, what did they do in the last month to earn their place in this crowded world? So Callie, kick us off.
Such a good question. You set the tone for what I imagine is going to be a very interesting and complex panel. So, hi everyone. I'm Callie Reynolds. I'm the Vice President of Account Management for the Oracle Data Cloud Division of Oracle. And I spent the last over 12 years in the SaaS industry, so software as a service, specifically in customer success. So making sure that our customers see value in the solutions that they purchase from us. And specifically the last 12 or so years have been in digital advertising. So grateful to be here. I'm also, as I shared with my fellow panelists earlier, I'm a mother of 1-year-old twins, which has been very interesting through the pandemic, working from home with 1-year-old twins for a time where we had no childcare. Juggling parenting and work at the same time was a test of patience for everyone, as I'm sure many of you can attest to as well. And great question. What have I done to earn my place? So, I think you were asking the last month. I've definitely been spending a lot of time trying to encourage people to go out and vote. So I've gotten involved with Vote Forward and a few different places to try to get more people out and registered to vote. I've been keeping 2 tiny, adorable people alive during the pandemic, making sure that they're, fed, entertained, somebody's taking care of them. I lead a large team, so trying to keep everybody sane and working together and keeping morale up during a time that is so charged and complex and challenging physically, emotionally, mentally. And I've also spent a lot of time networking, which is one of the reasons why I think I'm here today. So I'm happy to share my tips and tricks with this group.
Awesome. So hi everyone. Sorry, go ahead. I was just if you wanted me to just jump right in, if you wanted to set it up. But hi, everyone. So my name is Cassandra Charles, as Morgan shared, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Essence. And in my role, I work closely with our advertising partners to build out multi-platform programs. So everything from sponsoring our experiences to branded content, the magazine, and so much more, depending on what the brand's objectives and goals are. I'm super excited for the summit today, super excited for this panel, and I hope that everyone walks away with some nuggets of information from myself, Callie, and Morgan. And to answer your question about what I've done within the past month or so to earn my space in this world, it's been a couple of things. Like Callie, I've also been very involved with trying to just encourage folks to vote. So I volunteer, I make calls to, key states. I won't like to talk about my political views in that way. And I'm working the polls on November 3rd. So I think, I encourage everyone, if you are young and healthy and not, if you don't have any pre-existing conditions that can impact you with COVID and so forth, I encourage folks to work the polls wherever you are. It's needed. But also during COVID, we know that so many people in our community are in need. So I also volunteer with an organization in Brooklyn where we do grocery shopping on the weekends for families that aren't able to. So that's been like my two things outside of like taking care of my family.
That is phenomenal. And that is why I asked this question, because if you can believe these ladies are both senior in both of their very large corporations and still find time to be able to impact their communities like that, I just hope that you guys take that as inspiration, that you can really do it all. So one of my first questions that I'm going to ask that I think is very relevant to the topic of this panel is that you guys have both reached the VP status at each of your respective companies. And so how do you think networking assisted you on that climb as you became more senior in your careers? And I'll direct that to Cassandra first.
Sure. I think networking is a piece of the puzzle, but it's also, I worked for it. I worked really hard to get where I am. And I think people have to recognize throughout your career, networking is super important, but just being genuine and working well with people. People remember you in terms of what you do is one thing, but how you treat them and engaging with people in fair ways. So when I think about networking as it relates to my career trajectory, it's definitely been a piece of it. But I think it was coupled with also just doing the work and looking out for people. And when you look out for others, they look out for you as well. So that's also kind of like the key when it comes to networking, is being authentic with it and also reciprocating it to other people as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with Cassandra. So how I ended up at the role at Oracle was actually through an acquisition. I worked for a company, Experian. People know it as like a large credit bureau. I worked in the marketing services side. And how I ended up at the company Moat that was acquired by Oracle was I was recruited by somebody who I had worked for previously. So I completely agree. The experiences, the brand that you build for yourself within your company is so important, both in the people who you work with, as well as the people that you work for. Like, in my role, clients are the people who I work for, or my team works for. And so having great experiences with them so that when they go other places, they think of me, whether it's for jobs and opportunities or whether it's for, hey, we're looking for a solution that, hey, this person may know, that Callie may know. So I think that is hugely important in how you present yourself in your job every day. Think about it as if you're building a brand, like you're building a brand, whether maybe you're McDonald's building a brand, but you're also you, like I'm Callie building my brand.
That's right.
I think the networking, the only thing I would add is, for me, networking was, in many cases, I was the person who was supposed to drive the strategy for my division. And especially as you get into roles where you're managing a team, whether you're a manager, senior manager, director, and certainly at the vice president level, nobody else is telling me how to do my job. I have to figure out how to do my job myself. And so networking is so important because it's, how do I connect with other people at other companies who do the same thing or do something similar, so that I can chat with them about the strategies that they've implemented, what's worked, what hasn't worked, so that I can use those skills and ideas or bounce ideas off of each other. So the higher up you get, the more, in some ways, isolating it can be, because everyone's just expecting you to own your stuff, which we should try to always own our stuff. But networking is so helpful because you can really speak to people who truly understand what you are dealing with on a daily basis. And that can help you, see things through a different perspective.
Yep.
I love that. And I think that really gives us a great pivot to what I want to ask next is, so if we need to build that strong network so that you have somebody, a tribe of people that do what you do and are able to kind of lend feedback, how does one begin to build that strong network? I'm going to direct that to Callie first, just because she kind of gave us that great perspective. And I would love you to approach to how you do it now. And I would also love you to kind of think back to the beginning of your career. I know we'll have a lot of people on the chat that are just getting started. And so I think they would find it valuable to know how you also did that when you were just starting out.
Absolutely. So a few different things. Networking really starts with trying to figure out what you're trying to get out of it. So there should always be a goal, whether it's I'm trying to do better at my job, or I'm trying to learn a new industry, or I'm trying to understand my clients better, whoever your clients may be. When that could be whether you're an accountant or whether you're like managing customers for, an advertising firm. That's where I think you have to start, which is really asking yourself those questions of what am I trying to learn? And then identifying who are the people that would help me learn that. So networking, let's say you're, if you're an accountant or if you're in SaaS or whatever it may be, there's tons of organizations out there of people who do what you do or do what you want to do. And you can join those. And most of them are completely remote, although there's certainly some that meet in person. So you can find them through meetups. I definitely did a few meetups back. I mean, meetup is still a thing. I think it was a thing for a while. So
virtually now.
Yeah, right. It's so LinkedIn has great organizations and groups that you can join. You can also find different associations that have pages or sections online, or look at people who have the job you want and look at what they're involved in. Are they involved in different like industry events or industry programs, and then figure out how you can get into those. And I definitely did that. I went through when I wanted to learn more about digital advertising, for example, I looked to the Internet Advertising Bureau, the IAB. They have lots of online learning. They have in-person sessions. They have seminars. They have programs that you can go to. And now a lot of the stuff that they do is online. So I would say look for what you're trying to accomplish, whatever it may be. What are you trying to learn in your career? And then look for who are the people that would help you bridge that gap. And are there associations or groups that you can be a part of where you can find different people who have that same skill set?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I echo a lot of what Callie said. Like, find people that have like-minded interests as you do, and join those organizations. But a couple of things that I want to add to. I think it's really important for people, especially younger folks, next generation, to realize your network doesn't just start when you're on your career path. Your network starts from like college, honestly. It starts from college because here you are in whatever school you went to, you are going to be on the same sort of like timeline as all these people that you're meeting in college. People will go in different paths and different careers, but that starts your network. It's not just going to be the people you'll meet here and there along your journey. It's everyone collectively. Your network could be career, it could be school related, it could be somebody you met at the gym. It could be so many different aspects of how you meet people. And when I think about what else it takes to build a strong network is know what you want, be genuine, be genuinely interested in people. I get a lot of people that reach out to me randomly on LinkedIn, etc. And you could tell the ones that are literally copy and pasting the same email to every single person versus the ones that are being super authentic, like, hey, I'm a recent student. I'm really trying to learn more about marketing. Would love to have a virtual one-on-one with you. Here's what I'm hoping to gain from it. So you just have to be really authentic and sort of know what you want. And lastly, I would say when it comes to building a strong network, quality over quantity. There are people who think they need to know every single person, but they don't really know them well, versus have a network of people where you're building authentic relationship, where you're staying in conversations with them, not just calling when you need something, but really being engaged, keeping them posted of what you're doing, because they will keep you top of mind. Those are the people that I always remember when I hear about an opportunity. Oh my God, I remember this person said she wanted to move from her role to something else. So just being authentic about it.
Key. I think that's a key learning. And that we're just making these very, very interesting segues and just so much alignment, because one of the things, so in the description of this panel, we put out there, how do you shoot your shot? So my question to you, Cassandra, is what has been the most memorable way that somebody has shot their shot in your inbox or in person? So what is the most memorable or fascinating way that somebody has approached you?
Yeah, I think the most memorable has been a couple of things, and they haven't been anything like crazy. It's just been as simple as, hey, I've either been following your career path. I really want to get into what you're doing. Would love to learn more. I'm having a hard time navigating how I get into XYZ. And then we start a conversation. But I've had a couple of people who have reached out to me in that way to network that have become mentees, because what they did for me that works, at least for me, that worked well, is that throughout our relationship, they keep me posted on sort of what they're doing. Hey, just want to let you know I landed here. Checking in on you. How are you doing as well? So it was kind of more of a give and take. And I'm always great. I'm always willing to pour into people. But I think, again, the most memorable have been the ones that were very genuine in what they wanted versus, hey, just want to know you just to know you. But it was very clear with what they wanted out of it and how I can help them.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Cassandra said about authenticity and being genuine. I like to think that networking, especially like cold reach out, is like dating, right? You need a good opening line, but it shouldn't be so cheesy that it makes the person want to close the on you. It really can be like dating, and I've gotten some really good ones and some really terrible ones. In fact, I got a really terrible one not that long ago. So I know we've shared some good, I know we were kind of going with sharing the good ones, but I'll throw a bad one in there. Somebody saw that I had gone to UMass Amherst and they sent like Go Minutemen. And so I was like, okay, maybe they went to UMass, like interesting. Huge school, like the likelihood of me knowing them was very minimal, but I was like, oh, maybe they went to UMass. And then at the end, they were like, I didn't actually go to UMass. I went somewhere else. But they, like, the beginning of their note made it sound like they were trying to connect. So I was just sort of like, that was a strange one. So I think, a good opening line, making sure that what you're saying to them is very genuine and also really ties into what you think would motivate them to want to speak with you. Like, why would, almost think like you're in sales, like you're like dating, right? Like you want them to call you, you want them to be interested in seeing you again. So, so thinking about, what's in it for them, what's in it for you. And most people, most good people who honestly, you want somebody who's a good person to be a mentor or to network with you. So if they brush you off, I would say better for you, because you don't want somebody who doesn't want to give you their time. So if you speak to them in an authentic way and really tie into some of the things that Cassandra called out, I think I completely agree. And the follow-up is important too. I mean, something that for me is so key and makes me feel good when I hear that somebody, if I spent some time with someone helping them with their resume and then they reach out to me a week later and they say, hey, I got an interview and I really think the stuff that you told me really helped me. To me, that makes me feel so great. And I'm just like, cool, what else can I do? So versus like disappearing. So I love the idea of, really closing the loop and keeping it going.
You remind me of a funny story. About 2 months ago, I was invited to speak at an event, and my session, let's say, was like at 2:00. And around 12:00, this woman DM'd me or emailed me on LinkedIn saying, hey, I really love your session. And I was like, oh, but I haven't gone on yet. So I already knew what it was about. I'm like, okay, girl, we have not spoken yet. I haven't spoken yet. So I don't know what session you love, but I already knew she was sending it to every speaker. And she didn't realize that I hadn't spoken yet, but it was just, again, people just being genuine about it and the follow through. I've spoken a lot of events and I have no problem giving folks my emails. And I always say, I'll reply to you. Listen, I have no problem connecting, but you'll give folks your emails and then people don't follow through. You don't hear from anyone. So I think, again, the networking is a two-way street and you have to be committed to it. It's not it's a job. It's work. If you want it to work for you, you have to put in the work as well.
I love that. So I think we kind of covered, how do we shoot our shot, or what is the pathway to kind of establishing mentorship? But I just want to know, is there any additional thoughts that you want to add in terms of establishing mentorship, and not only establishing it but maintaining it, making sure that both parties are receiving value out of the relationship? So I just want to know if there was any additional thoughts you wanted to add. I'll start with Callie.
Sure. So one of the things that I think people don't take advantage of with networking or mentorship as a mentee is if you have a good relationship with someone who has a good network, you not only have them, you have their network.
That's right.
And so I think that the importance of follow up and keeping that relationship warm, maybe it's checking in once a month or once a quarter or whatever feels right, based on whatever you're trying to accomplish. If you have a good relationship with them, not only are they going to help you, but they're going to help connect you to the people they know. And as they grow, as you grow in your career, they're growing in their career too, and they're growing their network. And so I would say that don't only tap into those people for their knowledge, but let them know what you're trying to accomplish, because they'll also help you. I definitely, for myself, I certainly spend a lot of time when people say, I'm in this industry or I'm interested in this type of work, my mind immediately is, okay, who can I connect you to that has that skill set or that strength? Because I may not, or I may know something, but not as much as somebody who's really an expert in that field. And so I definitely think there's an opportunity to not just leverage those people, but also leverage who they know.
No, I couldn't agree more. And, one thing I would say too is be realistic with who you want to shoot your shot with. Yes, you may want to shoot your shot with Barack Obama or whoever, but like be realistic and know why. If you want to get into finance and you see some really amazing people in finance or LinkedIn, then okay, those are the folks to shoot your shot with. I think people sometimes focus a lot on the glamour of someone's role versus it being the right people for you to want to network with. And I think that's really key, is knowing who you want to shoot your shot with, why you want to, and being realistic with whether this is someone who may have the time or not, but like just being realistic with it, just essentially having a plan of action. You have a plan for everything you do in your life. And if you are really looking to network authentically, you have to have a plan and approach to it. And it's not a one-off, it's a continuous working wheel.
I totally agree. And the only other thing I'll throw out there is that you shouldn't just be looking up for mentors. You should be looking out. You should be looking down. And down, honestly, like for example, I've been in my career for a long time, and I'll meet people who are just starting in their career, but they may have a perspective that I have never even thought of. And so I may reach out to them and, ask them questions and say, hey, can you tell me more about, maybe they're like TikTok. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything there is to know about TikTok. But when I have like team members who join who are really into it and know it really well, of course I'm going to go to them and be like, mentor me on TikTok. And so I think that's really important, right? So mentors to me are who is going to help you get something that you don't have or that you want, that you're trying to work on. And that does not mean just going for the person who runs a company or that runs a department. That's looking for somebody who has a skill that you want to learn from. And if they're great, which if you connect with them and you feel really good about it, they're going to keep growing in their career. You're going to keep growing in your career. And then you have that built-in relationship for life, right? You will always be able to support each other. And I will tell you that having people that you can trust and that you can trust with your career and you can go to for advice, who feel like you're in the same place or have been in, or maybe in the same place at the same time is, it's a gift. It's a gift.
So well said. I always tell my mentees that you're going to be hiring me one day. Like when I mentor someone or we have a mentor-mentee relationship, like I want to see you win. And I'm always telling them you'll be hiring me one day. And I have a mentee right now, and I won't put her on blast, but she's a managing partner right now at somewhere amazing. And I'm like, I told you one day you're going to be like, Cassandra, do you want to come work with me? And then the last thing I wanted to add to with mentoring is pay it forward. You know what it took for you to get a mentor and how a mentor helped you. So when folks are reaching out to you to mentor them, pay it forward. Continue to build the next generation, the next, and the next. I think sometimes folks get what they want from mentorship, but then they don't pay for it and pass it on to others. Help others. And it's at all levels. I had a young team that was full of millennials, and I love them because I learned so much from them as well. So it's not just managing up with a mentor, find everyone in between because we learn from everybody.
Yes, that reaching across, that cannot be stated enough. You never know who's in your network that's at the level that you're at currently, that's going to end up at your dream company, that may end up opening that business that you're super interested in. And so I think Issa Rae says it best, that your big network is the people that are standing next to you.
That's right.
I'm going to go ahead, Callie.
I'm sorry, Morgan. I was just going to say, one of the number one resources for hiring is employee referrals. So if you know someone who you like and they go somewhere else and you're interested, like what Morgan just said about they go to your dream company, employee referrals, not only is it amazing for the company because the company loves it. In fact, they incentivize employees. A lot of companies actually will pay employees referral bonuses for referring you or referring somebody that they know. And if that person gets hired, in many cases, that person gets money. Like, that's amazing. Who doesn't want that? Which means that your network can also benefit you, because if you refer someone, maybe your company will pay you to find other employees. So that's hugely valuable in both having a good network that you would want to work with again, and in helping you get in some place that you want to be.
I totally agree. So we are going to actually go and we're going to look below and we're going to answer a couple of questions. And so the questions should pop up on the screen, but in case they don't, I'm going to read them out loud. So question number 1, what tips do you have for keeping up with a very large network and an extended network? If you know lots of people, I find it's hard to keep in contact with all of them. Cassandra, do you want to take this?
Sure. I said it earlier too. I believe in quality over quantity. You can know a lot of people, but maybe like 5 of them can help you get to whatever it is you're trying to solve for networking. And I think you have to look at this very large network and see, of this network, who are folks that are like your friends. These are colleagues, the folks that you work in the same industry as, which is great to have, versus who are the ones that can literally help you in whatever it is you're looking for networking on. If you are looking to make a jump to another industry, or you're looking to how to get a promotion, try to find maybe who in the network can kind of help you with that and dwindle it down. A very large network doesn't mean that every single person in that network serve the same purpose for you. There are different needs and different reasons. So I think you need to dwindle down your network to focus on what it is you're trying to get help on, and having that person, and then you'll be able to like focus more.
I do think that some people have a superpower of being able to know well many people. There's certainly people I've met in my career who will be like, I know this person and this person, this person. And then they'll introduce me to someone and they'll tell me everything about their lives. And I'm like, how do you know this many people? So some people do have this superpower, but I do tend to agree with Cassandra. Small and mighty is definitely important. What I will say, I will add, is that technology is your friend when it comes to this. Calendar, reminders, LinkedIn, and whatever social media feels appropriate. You know, some people are okay with like Instagram, some people aren't, but LinkedIn, follow them, check in with them, put calendar reminders in your personal calendar that pop up every month, remind of when their birthday is, like whatever it is, like put that in, put your technology to use to ensure that you are nurturing your network, whether it's small and mighty or vast, because that is the only way to be able to keep up with everything else that we have in our lives.
Absolutely. And, you know, just to add to that too, I think during COVID and being home, I've probably reconnected and connected with people more than had I been in my day-to-day routine of commuting all day, tired when I get home and not being able to see people. I've definitely leveraged digital and social in a way that I probably hadn't prior to, just because life and work is what it is. But being home definitely has allowed you to connect with folks more.
It's so true. And one thing I would love to just throw out there is, not everyone feels really comfortable networking, right? Like, I'm a very extroverted person. My husband used to say I was like a hummingbird at events, like flying from flower to flower. I'm very comfortable in that, but not everyone is. And I have worked with tons of people who are more introverted. And in some ways, this is beneficial because you can do a lot more one-on-one, smaller group type of engagements and networking chats where you can be in the comfort of your own home in like pajama pants. Yeah. And so you can find a niche of being able to remain reasonably within your comfort zone while also kind of coming out of your comfort zone. And if any of you are out there and saying like, yes, that's me, I am introverted, I highly recommend, I can't remember the author right now.
Networking, I hate networking.
Yeah, not everybody loves it. There's a great book called Quiet, and I will like search who the author is. And if anybody knows it in the comments, please comment it. But it is specifically for like helping people who are more introverted find their voice in industries where being extroverted, or in companies where being extroverted tends to be championed. So I definitely recommend it for those out there who may be thinking about that.
Perfect. Sorry about that, y'all. Part of the joys of being home is that your doorbell can ring in the middle of you hosting. So let's take another question. Let's see if we can get another question to pop up. I love this one from Misha C. Or actually, we're gonna do one from Uwe Okan, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. How can someone without experience navigate the job search process? Either one of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a tough time right now. It's a tough time right now, and searching for a job is not without its challenges overall, but especially during the pandemic. But what I would say for someone without experience is to start with like informational interviews. I remember when I was in college. I don't know your age or anything, so I don't want to guess, but I do recall, for me, I think learning as much as you can about what industry you think you would like to be in is the first step in navigating your search. But then trying to find opportunities where you can maybe intern or be realistic with the types of roles. If you don't have experience, maybe you don't start off saying you want a manager role, but is there an assistant role? An assistant role sometimes doesn't require as much experience, and most organizations will hire at the assistant level without having a robust experience at a coordinator level. I think, connecting with people, letting them know what your desires are. And I think that's the first way to start. But then leveraging all of social, whether it's Indeed, whether it's LinkedIn, and finding the LinkedIn groups that correlates with the industry you want to be in, and start meeting people and expresses that you're in the market. What I've been loving to see on LinkedIn is that people are being a bit more explicit when they're looking for jobs. You see how now in someone's profile, it'll say seeking opportunity or something. I think that's great that folks are transparent about it. And now when I've seen that, I keep people in mind, like, oh, wow, this person's looking for a job now. So if I hear about it, I let them know. So maximize your profiles on Indeed and LinkedIn as much as possible.
Definitely agree. I would also add, if you are a recent college grad, the alumni, like, reach out to alumni. There are definitely job boards that tie specifically into campus recruiting and will help alumni get jobs, because it makes the university look good if if graduates are employed. So there are resources with your alma mater if you are a recent college grad, or even if you aren't a recent college grad, if you did go to college, if you have a degree, whether bachelor's, associates, whatever it may be, there are programs that you can get into that way that I think is definitely important. The other thing, and Cassandra touched on this earlier, which is your network can be the people you went to college with. So I would also reach out to the people that were, or maybe not just, maybe high school, it doesn't even matter. Who are the people that you know and what are they doing? And, try some stuff on. Nobody really knows what they want to do right away. Or I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of people don't know what they want to do right away. And that's okay. Sometimes I wake up and I still don't know what I want to do. And so I think it's totally fine to try stuff on, check out different things. I totally agree. Like, assistant roles are amazing because you really can learn from great people, and you can really see how many different companies, how the companies work, like the inner workings. So I would say, leverage that network, because you may not even realize you have one, and you probably do.
Okay, well, I think we've got time. I think we can get to 2 to 3 more questions. So let's pop another one up on the screen. Oh, and I'm so glad that we're getting to answer this one. Out of curiosity, should you even bother with small talk when you reach out to connect, especially when something like LinkedIn has a character limit in your intro message? And I'll just kick this off. And for my opinion, I love a little small talk. I'm also Southern. So, being from the South, like you got to warm us Southern women up. Like you just can't go in directly. But I will pivot that to say that I think it's also helpful if you can kind of, and I think Callie touched on this earlier with the note about her alma mater. Like if you've got some sort of connection to the person that you're trying to reach out to, whether it can be as small as like, oh, those earrings you had on are really interesting. And it can be as, big as, we did the same things in college. But I think having that warm up before you kind of go in with an ask, I think is still important. I think it's in good taste.
Absolutely.
But would love to hear you guys' perspectives.
No, I honestly think it's as simple as, hey, how are you doing? Like, I know we're all in this pandemic. Hope your family and you are well. I think it's simple things like that. We don't have to lose the humanity in networking. I think it's literally basic things like genuinely checking in with someone like, hey, hope you're well. I know it's a tough time right now for everybody, but I'm reaching out because of XYZ. It could be as simple as that. Because again, I get the character limits. And honestly, a lot of this now is happening virtually and not in person. So you can't be at an event or something and you're talking with someone. So I think it's just a matter of checking in or saying, hey, I saw you were on XYZ event. Really wanted to connect with you. I love the things you were saying. It's just stuff like that. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. I can't stress enough how important it is to just keep it simple. We are all humans first.
Yeah, agreed. Keep it simple. If anyone joined the Allyship 101 panel, B said, meet people where they are. And she was speaking about allyship, but I think that's really just true across life in general. We're all going through this in varying shades of what that looks like. And so the humanity, we're all humans, we're all people, we're all experiencing in varying degrees what is happening right now. And so being thoughtful is definitely important.
Love it. All right, let's power through a couple more questions. I'm excited. You guys are asking such phenomenal questions.
There's so many questions coming through. I see them and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, they're so thoughtful. We appreciate y'all for being excellent attendees. So let's pop up another question on the board. To avoid a one-sided relationship, what non-invasive questions can you ask your mentor to also check in with them as you provide them with updates about yourself?
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully when you're meeting with them, you're getting to know them, right? You're asking them for their experiences and how they navigated different things. And you're asking them about what they're working on right now, because in theory, you're building a relationship with them because you want to get to know them and have some semblance of friendship over the years. And those are the ones that are going to last as well, right? So if you shouldn't be, if you're in a position where you're like, I don't know what to say to this person, then you really need to think about what you're asking them and what your conversations are with them when you have them on the line, because you should have, and maybe again, technology is your friend, but paper is also your friend. Like have a notebook, write a few notes down. Maybe it's something like I shared that I have twins. Maybe it's like, hey, how are the kids doing? Or I don't know, anything where you're like, okay, what are a few nuggets that I want to refer back to? Definitely.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think people have to remember, when you start to network with someone, ultimately, if it's a successful relationship, you become friends. So you start to know about that person. So all my mentees will check in. Hey, how's your daughter? Is she still doing gymnastics? What's going on with whatever? You know what I mean? You start to build a natural rapport where you won't even have to ask yourself, what should I ask? You're going to have natural dialogue about life in general. The best mentee-mentor relationships I have, we've become friends till this day. These are people that can go way back. You become friends. So you're not going to have to force to try to figure out a question. And the one thing I'll say too is not every mentee-mentor relationship is going to work. And sometimes if it doesn't work, that is okay. Let it go. because when you try to force a relationship, as with any other relationship in life, it's not going to net anything. So if you feel like you guys are not connecting, I'm very big on like if our energies are aligned, like how are we vibing? If you're not, then that's cool. You're gonna meet somebody that you're gonna connect with, and that's when it's gonna be fruitful to you as well. So don't force a relationship. If you also can see somebody's being a little annoyed, they're not replying back to you, they're not texting you back, don't force it.
See, it really is like dating.
It's like dating. It is.
And then, yeah, or they run their course too,
Yeah,
right?
run
Like
their course, yeah.
you could be in a position in your life where you meet with a mentor and things are great, but a couple months and then it starts to fizzle out. That's okay too.
Yeah.
I certainly have people who haven't spoken with in a year who will reach out to me and just be like, hey, randomly, can we talk? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because when we had the vibing, it was, a couple months and then we didn't really need to talk for a while. Like, it's okay if it kind of comes and goes also. It doesn't mean that you can't bring it back. So it is sort of like dating.
Yep.
Perfect. Let's get to another question. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I think we can at least get to one or two more questions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you evaluate what roles are realistic for your experience? I feel like a lot of women undervalue themselves in regards to experience. Yes, we do. But
Yeah.
we do. But okay, I love this question because I've in my career, I've worked with majority women, but at different stages, young, older, everything. And the key with being realistic about your evaluating the roles that are realistic for your experience is you first being realistic with your experience. So there are two perspectives on this. I think that when someone like me, I've been in the industry over 20 years, I'm very clear on my experience and the value. But I've also had a lot of experience with people who believe they should be somewhere. But when I look at their experience, I'm like, well, not really. So you also have to be realistic with like, does my experience right now, if I've only worked for 2 years, am I really at a director level? Maybe not. Maybe you're more than an associate manager or something. So I think number one is to first be clear with yourself and realistic with what your value, your level is. And then once you do know it, then you got to go guns blazing with like, this is my value. This is what I'm worth. And these are the opportunities that I want. But you have to do the work of being realistic. And what's been great again during this COVID time, I had a colleague friend of mine who was sort of like reevaluating her role, wanting to switch jobs. And she reached out to me and she's like, hey, Cassandra, we worked together for many years. Would love for you to give me real feedback on what our experience was like to work together. And I think sometimes not want to say we're all, but there are people who are afraid to get feedback. But she even made me want to do that for myself and just ask people that I work with, am I really here? What are you guys thinking? How am I doing? How are we engaging? So just ask people around you that you've been working with, like, here's where I want to make my next move. What do you think? What do you think maybe I could do better? Or am I there? And if I'm there and you feel you're there, then rock with it. But just two things again, just do the work to make sure you are realistic with your experience and where you belong. And once you are clear on what that is, you ask for what you deserve.
I love the asking for feedback. I love everything you just said. And I love the asking for feedback because I truly believe that we don't do it enough. People don't do it enough and women don't do it enough in particular. Because I think there's a need and want to be perfect and a fear of hearing something wrong. And I will tell you, I've gotten some really like gut-wrenching feedback over the years. And even though in that moment, I've been really uncomfortable, it has always helped me. Even when, because feedback, it's like you get a lot and you decide what pieces you want to keep. Because there are definitely times where you get feedback. And to be fair, as women, we get feedback that can be through unconscious bias, right? I've been called aggressive. I've been called many, many things that I do believe, or probably not just me believe, but there are studies out there that say that the lens with which women, especially women in leadership, are seen is quite different. So I agree with everything, unsurprisingly, everything that Susanna just said. The only other things I would add is that there have also been a lot of studies about women not applying for roles because they don't feel qualified enough when they are. And there's studies that actually say that men will apply for roles when they're only 50% of the requirements for qualifications, whereas women, and this is blinded studies, this is not pointing fingers at anyone. And also, this is not judging, because you should apply for jobs where you do not meet 100% of the qualifications. But it seems that more often than not, women will not apply for roles unless they meet 100% of the qualifications or requirements. And that is not needed. And I think asking for feedback, finding people who you trust, whose judgment you trust, to ask them those questions is very important. There's also a ton of transferable skills that you have that you may not realize that you have, that those people, those objective third parties, will be able to provide you that insight for. Okay. So definitely, that's why networking sideways and down and up is so important, because they will give you very real feedback. But it has to be somebody, that's why trust in that case is so important, because you have to be willing to hear that feedback, and you have to trust the person enough to take that feedback to heart. Because if you don't trust them and they give you feedback and you don't like the feedback, you're going to brush it off. Yeah. So you need it to be somebody who you're actually going to hear.
That's right. So cute.
I love that. I love that. So we've got 5 minutes left. And so I want to be judicious of time. So what I would love to do at the end, and we will start with Callie, is if both of you guys that work in the digital marketing space, and so if there's anybody in the attendees that work in digital marketing and would like to shoot their shot, what, to the level that you feel comfortable, if you want to give your LinkedIn URL or your email, and if you're on Twitter, if you just how do we shoot your shot with you two, for those that are interested in the digital marketing space, and we'll start with Callie.
LinkedIn, definitely. I was chatting with somebody earlier and I said, actually, LinkedIn is better than email, because I get so much email, good, the bad, the ugly, that I've definitely found that somebody will have written to me weeks ago and I'll dig out of my junk mail or dig out of the, all the newsletters and things, and I'll miss it. So LinkedIn is actually great. So I highly recommend that. And I would say digital marketing, software, SaaS, IT, definitely feel free to reach out. Callie, I think it's Callie Williams Reynolds, because Williams is my maiden name. If you find me on LinkedIn, sure, shoot away.
No, and same, I think if we think about Niani, the founder and creator of all things Hire Black, I mean, she shoot her shot with everyone she had speaking at the event today. And she just reached out on LinkedIn. And I quickly looked at what she was doing. I'm like, oh my God, absolutely, I'm in. So I think for me, LinkedIn is definitely the easiest way. I will always respond. And if it goes somewhere, great. If it doesn't, also great. But I would LinkedIn, it's Cassandra Charles, Cassandra with the E. LinkedIn is the best way to find me.
Same. And also same for me. If you got anybody in the attendee list that's interested in PR, communications, biopic thought leadership, LinkedIn, M. Smith Williams, I do ask that, because I just think it's a great feature to put a little note on why you want to connect. Because a lot of times, and I'm sure you two experience this as well, like somebody will send you a LinkedIn request and you have no context because they.
Yep.
Yeah. So, if you take anything away from this panel, the LinkedIn note function is there for a reason. Please. We actually have 2 minutes. And so if our tech person wants to pop up like a quickie question, we will take it in these last 2 minutes. A rapid fire, if you've got anything rapid fire. How much room is there for promise? If you don't have the experience, can you learn a lot on the job?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it varies also by industry. I think there are certain industries that you definitely can learn. I believe you learn more, honestly, on the job. You learn more about the job because the culture of the organization, how they do certain things would be different. So I strongly believe that, like Callie said, you can learn a lot on the job. That's where the real learning starts.
And if you have the opportunity to be choosy in where you go, look for a manager that wants to provide that type of support to you. Not everybody has the opportunity to be choosy, but if you can, pick a manager that you think is going to invest in you.
Love it. Well, thank you both ladies, Cassandra and Callie. Thank you for supporting Hire Black. Thank you for being here today. I hope attendees, you guys have enjoyed this discussion and that you took away some sort of value. We will see you at the closing session here in a couple of minutes. So thank you guys. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you all so much.
Have a good one.